This tea tastes like overdramatic villainry.
Buckle down.
Jupiter Descending is the newest film directed by the Wachowskis, and it stars Mila Kunis, Sean Bean, and Channing Tatum. The film is about a girl named Jupiter who has this crappy cleaning life and believes that nothing's going to happen with her, and then all of a sudden aliens start appearing. Channing Tatum's this big wolf man and comes and saves her, and then she's opened up to all these other galaxies, these alien races, and basically her mind is blown to the fact that there's other people out there. But then there's this family that's in charge of basically the galaxy, and they want her dead because she, through an extreme random sort of circumstances, is the reincarnation of their mother? This has got Wachowski weird written all over it, but it kind of just goes a little bit too far with certain things. The first thing I'll say about this movie is it's basically a Fifth Element sequel, or I guess you would say prequel. The costume design, the architecture design, how people act and talk, and all the spaceship designs, it feels like it's straight out of the Fifth Element. Mila Kunis is Mila Jovovich, who is the all-essential female who holds the entire universe, basically, or the fate of the Earth in her hands. Channing Tatum is Bruce Willis, who's the authoritative character and falls in love with the super important girl. And then Eddie Redmayne is an attempt at trying to be Gary Oldman. Seriously, throughout the entire movie, he just keeps talking like this. I will bless that entire planet before she takes it from me. But unfortunately, Eddie Redmayne's performance isn't the worst issue. But I'll talk about the good first. The effects are astounding. I noticed that they got double negative to do some of the effects, and those guys worked on Interstellar, so those were fantastic. The ship designs were really cool. They were kind of a little bit like too much at certain times, but the overall design of them was really interesting. And then Channing Tatum's boots. Dem boots were awesome. Not only were they a really awesome design, the idea of surfing and sort of skating, roller skating on gravity, but how they did the scenes. I kind of wonder how they did the wire setup because it looked so fluid, his movements. I think that was probably one of the most interesting parts of the movie is just figuring out how on earth they did those boot scenes. But then as cool as those action scenes are, some of the meanings behind them are just... I think there's about 3 times where something bad is about to happen to Mila Kunis, and Channing Tatum comes in at exactly the last second to save her life. I think it happens about 3 or 4 times in this entire movie. So by the 4th time I was like, okay, can we move this along please? I know what's happening. Jupiter Ascending is by no means a terrible movie. It just suffers from Wachowski syndrome. The amount of exposition in this film would make Christopher Nolan go, wow, I thought I might be bad. With such a detailed and massive universe to try and explain in your film, there comes a point where there's just too much to tell. Instead of learning about this girl's destiny and whatnot, we're figuring out about trade policies and ownership rights and global taxation. You just don't care about it. You're like, bring me back the action scenes. That's something I'm invested in. Oh, and then the love story. Well, Wachowski's got it better than The Matrix at least, but still, it's a little bit cheesy. There's this guy who is up behind me who is laughing so loud at certain scenes that had to do with romantic issues. And the funny thing was, I didn't mind because he was basically saying what the entire theater was thinking. On a simple note, I enjoy Jupiter Ascending, but I can't excuse the faults that it had. You have a villain that has the worst acting performance in a long time, and motivations that just don't make any sense, are so ridiculous that you wouldn't want to get behind. You have a main character who just seems to go from point to point and just stand there and be this important figure that doesn't do anything. And then you have a hero who basically is invincible and does everything. We're all used to the idea that good triumphs over evil. That's a granted, but you can take it in different directions, and sometimes you can try and mix it up a bit. I'm so sick and tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. I sometimes want the bad guys to win. Just be like, wow, that was different. Good for you, movie. But Jupiter Ascending falls in the same pit as all the other cliche sort of stories. I give it props for being like Fifth Element, but at the same time, I'd rather watch Fifth Element than this. My score for Jupiter Ascending is 3 out of 7. Now, I know that's below average, but mainly because there's so much stuff that's in this movie that could have been good, but with so much exposition dialogue and so much cliches, it can't be a positive notion for me. If they had taken a look at the script, if they had taken a few things back, and if they had looked it over and realized that they were doing a Fifth Element movie, and then tried to differentiate themselves and do things a little bit different, not just in the stunt work, but also with the stories and the characters, then maybe the film would have been more successful. Anyway, I don't think the Wachowski guys are going to do another big budget movie for a long time, but, you know, I think that's a good thing. They need to go back and realize what made them good with films like Bound. That was a really good movie. Anyway, guys, that's all from me. Hope you're enjoying, well, basically your afternoon tea. Hey, guys, I also wanted to say that I have a radio show called Listening to the Movies where I play classic hits from great film soundtracks. Anyway, I have Mark from Fanboy Flicks on, and we're going to be talking about Reservoir Dogs. He's been on the show before. He's a really awesome guy, and I really like talking with movies about him, so it's going to be a really good show. It's going to be tomorrow night, which is Thursday at 8 p.m. Pacific Time on www.civl.ca. So that's, yeah, again, www.civl.ca. Check it out. He's an awesome guy, and it's going to be really cool. I'm coming to the end of my radio show, but I really am looking forward to this episode. So check it out. Okay, see you guys. Buckle down.